Every object has a story, and most were forgotten. You've been taught that wars are started by kings, fueled by religion, or triggered by the thirst for gold. But what if one of the bloodiest global conflicts in human history wasn't started by a person at all? What if it was started by a piece of paper? A piece of paper covered in ink, beautiful to look at, but fundamentally, dangerously wrong. It is an object that redefined the shape of North America, not by showing where things were, but by imagining where they weren't. You already know the object, the map, but you don't know the story of the Mitchell map. Welcome to ObjectLore. Imagine the year 1755. The world is a chessboard. The great powers of Europe are locked in a cold war over a continent they barely understand. To the British, North America was a vast, untapped vault of wealth. But to own it, they had to define it. They needed a master document, a visual law that told every soldier where to stand and every settler where to build. They commissioned a man named John Mitchell, a botanist with no formal training in cartography. His task was to create the definitive map of the New World. Mitchell spent 5 years obsessively gathering diaries, ship logs, and stolen French charts. When he was finished, he had produced a masterpiece. It was 8 feet wide, 4 feet tall, the most detailed map of North America ever created. It was beautiful, authoritative, stamped with the royal seal of the British Board of Trade. There was just one problem. It was a lie. Mitchell's map contained geographical errors so massive they would eventually cost thousands of lives. He misplaced mountain ranges. He invented rivers. Most famously, he drew the source of the Mississippi River miles away from where it actually sat in the damp northern earth. In 1755, nobody knew he was wrong. They treated his ink as gospel. And that is where the friction begins. The British and the French were already arguing over the Ohio River Valley. The French claimed it by right of exploration. The British claimed it by right of Mitchell's map. Because the map showed British territory stretching far further west than it actually did, it created a phantom zone. Thousands of square miles of land that both empires believed was legally theirs. In 1754, a young British colonial officer named George Washington was sent into this disputed territory. He believed he was standing on British soil. The maps of his superiors said so. He encountered a French scouting party. A shot was fired. A massacre followed. That single skirmish ignited the 7 Years' War. This was not a border scuffle. It became the first truly global war, fought across 5 continents and 3 oceans, all because 2 empires trusted a drawing that did not match the dirt beneath their boots. But the Mitchell map was not finished with history. Maps have a strange power. Once signed by powerful men, their errors become legal truth. Fast forward nearly 30 years to 1783. The American Revolution is over. The British have lost. The new United States is negotiating its independence in Paris. Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, John Jay. They sit across from British diplomats. They need to draw a border between the United States and British Canada. They reach for a map. Of all the maps in the world, they choose a worn 28-year-old copy of the Mitchell map. It is still considered the gold standard. It is still wrong. The diplomats draw a line from the northwest point of the Lake of the Woods. They believe it will connect to the Mississippi River, but the Mississippi does not go that far north. They have drawn a border through thin air. They also draw a line through the wilderness of Maine and New Brunswick. Based on Mitchell's imaginary highlands, they sign the treaty, they celebrate peace. They believe the frontier is settled. In reality, they have planted a cartographic time bomb. Because the map is a fantasy, the actual border on the ground is impossible to find. For the next 50 years, American and British settlers move into the same forests. Both sides claim they are in their own country. By 1838, the friction explodes into what history calls the Aroostook War. one of the strangest conflicts ever recorded. 2 armies, thousands of troops, 0 official battle deaths, except for 1 stray cow and a few frostbitten toes. But for months, the United States and Great Britain stand on the brink of another massive war, all because no one can agree where the line from the Mitchell map falls in reality. The real purpose of a map is to simplify the world so we can navigate it. But the Mitchell map did the opposite. It complicated the world. It became a ghost-haunting diplomacy throughout the 19th century. Finally, in 1842, the Webster-Ashburton Treaty forces diplomats to confront the truth. The map everyone relied on for nearly a century is fiction. They must redraw the continent based on surveys and reality. They must bury the errors of John Mitchell. And yet, if you look closely at the modern US-Canada border, the strange angles and irregular lines in the east are echoes of those early mistakes. The errors remain. The Mitchell map is a testament to the power of the object. It shows us that we do not live in the world as it is. We live in the world as we describe it. If the description is flawed, the world becomes a place of conflict. John Mitchell was not a villain. He was a man trying to make sense of a wilderness from a desk in London. But his ink proved more powerful than his intentions. We think of maps as objective science. But throughout history, they have been tools of design, tools of power, tools of empire. They shape where we live, who we pay taxes to, which wars our ancestors fought. The Mitchell map did not just show North America. It invented a version of it that empires were willing to die for. No kings, no empires. Just a botanist's best guess on a giant sheet of paper. Today, it sits in archives, yellowed, fragile, looking harmless. But look closer at the frayed edges. Look at the misplaced rivers. You are looking at the DNA of 2 centuries of dispute. You already know the object, the map, but you did not know the story. Every object has a story. Most were forgotten. This was one of them. Welcome to ObjectLore. If you enjoy uncovering the hidden, surprisingly controversial history behind everyday objects, from the maps that start wars to the zippers that changed fashion, subscribe and join us. There is more hiding in plain sight.